Okay, we're going to start on Nun Aleph Amid Beis, Tanu Rabbanon. Tanu Rabbanon.
Did you say the names of who?
No.
Hashem said?
We think Hashem. Right.
Oh, just add your type for W. Gershon and Abra.
Okay.
Wow,
She's
No, thank you. Morning. Okay, we thank Hashem that we want to learn Torah every day. The source of our learning. We have the base of Mikdash immediately. Learning the Nishmas of God the Basra Binyamin. Sanos of Ben Mitzian. And Dr. Stein gave me another name for learning the Nishmas. Dr. Stein, David Gershon Ben Avraham, right? Ben Avraham. And also for Shleim Favim David Ben Sarah. And for Gedali Getzel Elias Ben Pegad Sipar. Okay. Make a bracha. Tanu Rabbanan, Torah and Brisa. Ein mekablim pektenis leiman anashim leiman avadim leiman atinaitis. If a woman or a slave or a child approaches you and says, "Can you please watch this item for me?" You don't take it. The reason for that is that we suspect that maybe they stole it from the husband's property. They stole it from their parents. They stole it from their master. Slave stole it from his master. And you're just an accomplice to the theft. And they're trying to get it out of their possession. And they tell you, please hold it, So you don't want to be an accomplice. So don't take it. Kibel manisha. But let's say you did take it and you are watching it for them. Woman comes to you and says, "Can you please watch my Mercedes?" I think maybe it's the husband's and she's hiding it. So,
Just run.
It's just a rental.
No, just run.
Oh, just run.
This is not his wife.
We think that it is his wife. We think that she took it from the husband.
And she's no. Person.
The shomer is not the husband.
Oh,
The shomer is an outsider.
Oh, I
The
thought
problem is we think that she took it from she or the slave took it from the master or the child took it from the.
Why can't we ask if it's his wife? Because that would be the next question after the last Gemara, where does he have the parents all those things from something that belonged to his wife? So now the question is yes or no. What about, can he be a shomer for something that belongs to his wife?
That was a Gemara.
But they never asked about a shomer.
That was a Gemara about Metzia because it's Shmir V'Bailam. There was a whole discussion about that.
Oh, but I remember that.
Ask Killa. Okay. So if he does take something from a woman, Yasalisha, you have to return it to the person that gave it to you. Don't just say you're going to be stricter and give it to the husband or something like that. The Mesa, however, if she passes away, then Yasalabila, you return it to the husband because he would have inherited her anyway. Kibel Menavet, if you receive something from the slave and to watch, you weren't supposed to, but you did. So then Yasalavet, you return it to the slave. Vimes, if the slave passed away. Yasal Rabbi, then you return it to the master. Master would have inherited the slave anyway. Talking about a non-Jewish slave. Kibel Minakata, and if you got something from a child, so who do you return it to now? To return it to the child is sort of like throwing it out because he's not going to watch it. If a child shows up with something very precious, a diamond ring, a Rolex watch, he shows up, he says, "Can you please watch this for me?" So, okay, so you took it. You weren't supposed to, but you took it and you're watching it. Now it comes to giving it back. He says, "Can I have it back?" You can't give it back to him. So Yasale Segula, you have to make it into a treasure. We'll see in a moment what that is. Vimes? No, because he doesn't have he won't watch it properly. It's like sort of like throwing it out. The mason, if he dies, if he passes away, Yasali Arshav, you return it to his inheritors, which is probably his father. Kulan Shamro Bishas Misasan, and all of these people, if they said at the time of their passing away, Shal Plainihin, they admitted who it really belongs to. Then Yasik Pirusha, and you return it to the one that they specified, whose it really is. Imlav, and if not, now this if not, the Rashbam learns here. The Rashbam has several pshatim that he rejects over here. But the pshat that he accepts is if you, for whatever reason, you don't believe them when they say whose it is. If you don't believe them, then Yasa Pirsh the Pirusha, and then you have to give an explanation on their specification, and you have to give it to whoever you think it belongs to, which is probably the husband or the child or the parents or whatever, not to that specific person that they specify. You don't believe them.
So he's making that to public or to aid to?
He's telling I
or?
think he's telling it to the one that's watching it. Tells the watchman.
No, I thought the person died, and so the person who's holding it in trust now says, "I'm not giving it back to the state because I think he never really ended."
No, there was someone that gave it to the watchman. It's either a child, a slave, or a woman.
Who died?
This child, slave, or woman. And
Right.
on the deathbed, they said that it doesn't belong to me. It belongs to Charlie. So they say, okay, we should have to give it back to Charlie. But if the guy says, I don't believe that, the shamer says, it doesn't belong to Charlie. That's impossible. That's impossible. He's just trying to, he doesn't want his father, or she doesn't want her husband to know after they died that they stole it or whatever. So that's why they said that. So if you don't really believe that, so then you return it to the real owner that you believe, who you think it is. That's the way the Rashbam says. Yeah, as other pshatim here, but yeah. It's usually true. Over here, this is an exception that we don't necessarily trust it. No, because they're covering up for something. We don't want it to say on their they don't want it to say on the tombstone, here lies so and so that stole a Rolex from her husband. Okay. The Bisu, the Rabba Barbachana, the wife of Rabba Barbachana Kika Shachfa, when she was passing away, Amr, she said, Hani Kifi, these earrings, maybe bracelets, earrings, probably earrings. The Marta B'nai Brata, they don't belong to me. They belong to Marta. And Martha, right? To Martha, it's a man. Yeah.
It's man this time.
Yeah. Martha is the brother of Reb Chia. Reb Chia's brothers were Martha, Evu, and Chana. It's interesting. Chana is a man's name. Chana with an aleph at the end.
Is Reb Chia Barabba?
No, not Reb Chia Barabba. This is Reb Chia Gadol. He's under Rebbe. Reb Chia Barabba is a student of Reb Yochanan. Chia Bar Rav also. And then there's Reb Chia Gadol. There's a student of Rebbe. You probably have to turn the page
first
up.
one on top. Yeah. Under you, Rabbi Yehuda Nasi.
Right. So one of his brothers was Rav's father. One of his brothers was Chana. Now, Chana had a grandson, Rabba Barbar Chana. And so Rabba Barbar Chana says, when the wife of Rabba Barbar Chana is passing away, she said that it comes from my husband's uncle. It comes from Martha, B'nai Brate, and the sons of his daughter, which means my second cousins. This belongs to my great uncle and my second cousins. So Asal Kami de Rav, they came to Rav. Rav is a second cousin, is a first cousin once removed. Rav is the son of Evu. They come to Rav this is all one family thing. Come to Rav, Amalei Mehemnalach. He says to Rabba Barbachana, probably, he says, if you trust her, that it actually belonged to her cousins. So I say Kipirusha, then give it back to them. But if you don't trust them, I say Perish the Perusha. then give it to, it can't be that it was the husband. It must be that the shomer came, someone was watching it, and came to Rav and asked the question. It says, I say, Persh Perusha, give it to who you think it is, which is probably Rabba Barbachana, her husband. Ikadamri, there's some that says, the Ikadamri Hachi, some said it the following way. Yamidalach, if it works out, if you evaluate it, no, we're not talking about evaluating the items. We're talking about if you estimate if it's possible. In other words, are the second cousins that wealthy to own these earrings? Or is the wife of Rabbi Barbachana such a good friend with them that they would have lent these earrings to her? Then I say Kiprusha, then do that, be light. But if they were poor people, they didn't have earrings. Or if Rabbi Barbachana's wife wasn't the friendly person that would get things lent to her. So then I say Pirish the Pirusha, then you'll have to make a commentary on what she said and not give it back exactly to who she said it belongs to. But say that it really meant that it belongs to the husband. She was just saying that to protect something, that protect her name. Rabba's Chana's son was Rabba, and Rabba had another son, had a son, Rabba. So they just dropped one. They said Rabba Bar Rabba, the son of, Rabba, the son of, right, which means a grandson. Yeah, there is someone else, which is Rabba Bar Chana. Rabba Bar Chana was okay, that's what I think the explanation is. Okay, one of the things we said in passing was that when you're giving it back to a child, you don't give it back to the child if it's precious, because you're basically throwing it out. They won't be able to watch it. So what should you do? You should yasali segula. You should make for it a treasure. What does it mean, a treasure? But Moshe, listen to this. My segula. What's a segula? Rav Chisda Amar Sefer Torah says you should buy for him a Sefer Torah. Now the Sefer Torah he'll be able to read and to study, and it doesn't go away. It's a good investment.
You also can't get rid of it.
Rabbi Baravuna Amar Dikla Dachmini Tamri. Another option is you can get a date palm where you can eat the fruits, and the date palm still exists. It's a good investment. You just get the dividends.
But if he gets in the Sefer Torah, look, I think that's great. Moshe, it's fantastic. But then the guy,
I'll take one Sefer
it's
Torah.
not something that, if he got him something else, all right, he invested in the Apple, whatever, he can always sell that stock if eventually the story became clear and give him something else. But if he invests in the Torah, that guy can't sell the Torah. I mean, we have the limitations of what can be done with the Torah. It's like he went all the way up.
You're not allowed to sell. Oh, you only sell a Sefer Torah to get married.
That's what I'm saying. So he went.
No, you only leave Eretz. What does it say about selling a Sefer Torah?
You can sell it. You can sell it to get married. That's one of the excuses. But I have a question. This person is just a shomer, and he's selling what he was given to watch.
He's buying something with its value.
Yeah. Who says a shomer can do that? I mean, if it's something that's perishable or it's an animal, we know he can do things. But if it's not that, who says he can do that?
It's a good question.
Oh, because he's still holding it. He's more in the shomer. He's like, they use the term muhsak. He's like, as long as it is his, he can do anything he wants to do with it.
I don't think that's right.
Take a look at Rabbeinu Gershon.
Rabbeinu Gershom on this page. Okay, yeah, got there.
I think what we're dealing with is that we're dealing with, see, right before it says Piska, see it says Sefer Torah. Now, I think what he means is that you want to get something that's not going to be, that the principle won't be destroyed. I mean, even if you use it, the Sefer Torah will still last. But I think what the explanation is that we're dealing with something that you would be losing the principle. You know, so you have to get something that doesn't disappear.
So
I
it's
think that's
something that's perishable.
perishable, something perishable.
Okay.
That's probably what we're talking about. Yeah. Okay, now the Gemara says, we're quoting the Mishnah. A father cannot have a chazaka in his children's items, saying that they're or property, saying that it's mine because I was there 3 years. And a child can't have a chazaka with his father's items, saying that it's mine. Child can't say, I've been driving this car for 3 years, therefore it's mine. My father gave it to me. It's not necessarily so. Maybe your father just lets you drive it. Right? Doesn't mean that huh? Is this too classic? Too practical?
No, I'm just thinking to myself, it's metaltalin. You don't need 3 years.
Yeah, it would be miyad. It would be like
My father gave this car to me yesterday. Now it's mine.
Yeah, see, I have the keys. Right. Well,
But not the title.
so Amar Rav Yosef says, Afilu chalkai, afilu chalkai. Rav Yosef says, even if the father and son divided up, in other words, the child is not living at home. I could take this to the extreme. Even if the father disowned the son, we'd say the same halacha that the child does not have a chazaka, and the father doesn't have a chazaka, even though they're living separate, because the father still would have compassion on him and let him use the things that he, and the child the same thing, but let the father use his things. Rava Merchelka Light. Rava says no. If they divided it, then they're strangers. If they're living separate, then they're strangers. Yeah. It's not the Bach switches it to Rabba. It's not Rava. It's not Rava arguing with Rabbi Yosef. It's Rabba arguing with Rabbi Yosef. Rabba and Rabbi Yosef are contemporaries. Amar Rabbi Yirmiyah Midifti. Rabbi Yirmiyah Midifti says, Avad Rav Papi Uvda Chalka like Rava. That Rav Papi Paskin in an actual case, it was actually a halachic question that came up because there was a father that made a chazaka in his children and his son's property, and Rav Papi accepted it as a good chazaka. And the reason for that is because he's paskin like Rabbah that says that if they weren't living together, the father and the child weren't in the same house, so then they're considered strangers, and it's considered like a chazaka. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak says, "Ishtoyli Rav Chia mi Hormuz Ardashid city, Hormuz Ardashid. Rav Chia from Hormuz Ardashid told me, "Ishtoyli Rav Acha bar Yaakov, Mishmid Rav Nachman bar Yaakov." That was told to him by Rav Acha bar Yaakov in the name of Rav Nachman bar Yaakov. Okay, so this is Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak saying that he heard something from heard from Rav Nachman. Chalkaloi, that if they divide it up, then they could get a chazaka. And the Gemara Paskans, the halach is that chalkaloi, that if they divide it up, then the what we said in the Mishnah doesn't apply. Rather, there's yes a chazaka. When it says no, it means yes. Chalkaloi, and the Mishnah says no, that's not what we're talking about when they were divided. And rather, if they're living separate, then the halacha is that there is a chazak. Tanya Namihachi, there was also taught in the Brisa ben Shachalak, if a child is living separate from the father, or a wife that was divorced, or in Kishar Kaladim, then they're just like strangers. A child living separate is like a wife that's divorced, like an ex. Itmar, you have a statement of Amiraim. This is a Gemara for Yitzi. Let's say one of the brothers is taking is responsible for the whole estate. He's the one that's involved. He's the buying, the selling, the trustee.
While the father's alive.
The father passed away.
Oh, so trustee.
He's the trustee for the estate. And he has documents of sale of purchase, of sale, and he has documents of loans that he lent. He has promissory notes that are written into his own name. And he says, this is not involved with what I'm being a trustee on. This is my own personal business that I have on the side. And it has nothing to do with you brothers. It has to do with something that I inherited from my grandfather on my mother's side, because they share the same father. They have different mothers. So he says, this comes from my mother's property. So Rav says, Allah Viraya. You're the trustee. You have to prove that these documents that you wrote under your own name are not really the estates. Right? This is so typical that someone could do this.
This is very typical now. If you own a corporation and you buy things for the corporation, a lot of times you use your credit card. What name is on the credit card? You have to give your name, and they write the receipts, and it's in your name. And then here you are saying, but it's really just the opposite. It's not mine, it's a corporation. Right. And if you buy some in your name, then someone say, no, that wasn't yours. That was, it's quite common. Right. It's usually resolved.
It's not so simple.
Well, if the person's honest.
Yeah. The only way to know if a person is honest is to ask him. If he says yes, he's a liar.
His lips are moving. His lips are moving.
Okay. So Rav says the onus of responsibility to prove that it does not belong to the estate is on the trustee, is on this brother. Otherwise, even though it's under his personal name, it belongs to the estate.
Usually the one that is extracting is one that.
I know, but Rav is considering him to be the one that's extracting it. Shmuel Amar. Shmuel says, Allah achan lahaviraya. Shmuel says exactly the opposite. The onus is on the brothers. Since it's written under his name, and they're trying to say that it doesn't belong to him. So they're the ones that are the mitzi. They're taking it away from him. So they have to take it out. Well, it's interesting because the Rashbam says over here, normally we would paskin like Shmuel, but over here we're going to paskin like Rav. No, that's Abai and Rava. This is Rav and Shmuel. When it comes to monetary laws, usually we paskin like Shmuel. In this case, we're going to paskin like Rav. That's what the Rashbam writes over here. And the Rashbam Malachim Haviraya, the wide lines, he says, Baha Hilchos Rav, because we have a brisa that supports him, and we have also Rav Chizda and Rav and Rav Sheshes, they're all paskening like Rav, so we can go like Rav. Which means that the trustee is does not have ownership of it until he can prove that this was something that he did personally. Amar Shmuel says, Maidali Abba, Rav would agree to me. That if the trustee dies, even though Rav holds that it's this trustee that has to prove that it's not the estate's, that it's his personal. But if he dies and his children now are there, so the children won't be able to prove that. So we switch it over onto the brothers. Now the brothers have to prove. So in other words, Rav would agree to me, Shmuel is saying, if the trustee died. Maskefler Rav Papa. Rav Papa has a question. 1 second. Sometimes we can make a claim. Rav Papa isn't later, yeah. Maskefler Papa. Oh, I don't even have a Rav Papa. Maskefler Papa. Do you have Papa? Do you have Rav Papa or Papa? Oh, that's not interesting. My Gemara left out the Rav. What do you have, Rav Naftali, in your Gemara? Does yours say Papa or Rav Papa?
It says Papa, but it has an asterisk next to it.
No.
And I'm looking for where that goes, and I don't see it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, here it says Rababar. No, it's something else. I don't see where this asterisk goes. Oh, sorry, Cleo's Rob Papa.
Okay. But got corrected. Maskefler Rav Papa. How does Rav Papa ask this to him? to Shmuel, it can't be a maskif law. Maybe what we have to do is we have to take the law out. And Rav Papa didn't ask it to Shmuel directly.
Just asking on.
And it would switch the law to Rav. Yeah. Maskif Rav Papa. Rav Papa has a question. That would make sense. Asked me, can we make a claim for orphans, something that if the father would have claimed, he wouldn't be trusted? As the father says that it's mine personally. We don't trust the father, according to Rav. So Shmuel says, but we would trust the orphans. So Rav Papa says, but we don't do that. Sometimes we could make a claim for orphans. If the father would claim it, he would be trusted. So that when the children don't know what to claim, so the Beis Din will step in and say, well, maybe this was the case, and they'll put that claim in for as when someone goes to Beis Din, and they could win the case by saying a certain thing. The judges don't help that person say that. They listen and say, well, what do you want to say? But when it comes to orphans, and the orphans don't know the answer, the Beis Din will create the answer, something that will work for them, because they don't know how they'll put in the Beis Din will put in the correct claim. But here, if the father would not be believed, how do they put in this for the orphans? But Rava, we have a story with Rava. Apik Zuga de Sarbala, he extracted a scissors that was used to cut the little balls of wool that go on clothing. The Safra da Agadata, and a book of Agadata, maybe stories or something. Miyasmi, he extracted it from orphans. Balay Raya, orphans were holding on to the scissors or to this book, and someone came along and said that it belongs to them. Well, they could have said, well, we bought it from you, but he. Miyasmi Balay Raya. These orphans did not have proof that it was theirs. We're talking about that even though they're holding on to it, but that's no proof that it's theirs, because of the type of things that people borrow, like a pencil or something that people borrow. So, and Kedushalach Rav Huna Baravin, as Rav Huna Baravin said, that so what are you saying? In other words, the orphans could have made a claim. But that claim, if the father would have made that claim, the father wouldn't be believed. Because just because when you say that something's yours, if I say that this shirt is mine, so then you're gonna have to trust me that it's mine. But if I say that this pencil's mine, even though I'm holding it, but it doesn't mean that it's really mine. I don't really have a chazak on this, because pencils get passed around. People borrow pencils all the time. So
You have a chazaka while you're holding.
yeah, okay. So when orphans have it, if the father would have said it was his, we wouldn't trust the father. So if orphans have it, we don't trust the orphans either, which means that the orphans don't get any stronger than what the father was. So how could we say now that when the orphans of the trustee have a claim that the father himself couldn't have claimed, according to Rav? Okay.
Can't they use for promissory note as proof? Either party, either.
Yeah. The question is, who's the one that has to go and prove that? We'll see in a second how the proof works. Amar Rav Chisda now says, we're on nun beis on the beis. Chisda says, we're talking about over here where the trustee and the brothers have everything done together. They eat out of the same pot.
Same field, maybe.
Even the dough that they bake bread is all the same dough. Everything is the same. But if they do have some things that they do separately, then maybe that the fact that he was able to lend money, now he has a promissory note that he can collect from other people money independently of the estate, is because that was his own dough that he kept collecting, and he saved it up and he sold it. He made a little business on the side from his own dough, and that's how he made the money. He was a smart investor. He made dough. Right. So that's Rav Chisda's coming in and saying that when does Rav say that we don't trust the trustee, that he has anything independent here? That's only if everything they're doing is together. There's nothing, no independent. Everything is all shared. But if they have things that they're not sharing, so then that would be different. Now the Gemara says Raya b'mai. What's the proof that he's supposed to bring to say that this is independent? Rabba Amar Raya B'Edim. Rabba says he has to bring witnesses that say that he actually inherited this from his grandfather on his mother's side. Rav Sheshes Amar Raya became a shtar. Rav Sheshes says this is what Yonatan said. He just has to validate the document. Document is a promissory note. The brother's name is Reuven. He says that he lent money to Charlie. So there's witnesses on the promissory note. And those witnesses just have to testify that actually happened, and it was Reuven's own money that he did that with, and it was not from the estate. So once the document is validated, we assume that when the document is validated, they don't just validate the signatures, but they also ask questions like where's this money from, and those types of questions. Then the validated document would prove that, because in the document it says that it was Reuven's name. Doesn't say that he's lending money from the estate. It says that it was Reuven. Okay. Now, who is saying this? This is Rav Sheshes. Now, for sure, Adim is better than Kiyam Ashtar. Rav Sheshes is just adding, Rav Sheshes is just adding in that validating the document, notarizing the document would also work. But of course, Rav Sheshes would agree to Rabbah.
Have star or something. But the person who signs writes the star.
Well, actually, there is a type of document where the borrower can write the document, where you don't need witnesses, because he himself wrote it.
Signs it.
He himself wrote it. Yeah, well,
just make.
No, well, he would never make up stuff to his detriment.
No, to his advantage.
No, his advantage is not good.
Or what was it? Makes it stronger.
Yeah. Okay. Amalei Rava Rav Nachman. Rava says to Rav Nachman, Ha Rav, V'ha Shmuel, Ha Rabba, V'ha Rav Sheshes, Mar Kaman Svirle. Look what's going on over here. We have Machlekes Rav and Shmuel. Who has to bring the proof over here? Rav says that the trustee has to prove it. Shmuel says the brothers have to prove it. Then Rav and Rav Sheshes argue about what type of proof has to be brought according to Rav. Who do you go like? Amalei, so Rav Nachman says, I just know the Brisa. The Tanya was started in a Brisa, if there's one of the brothers that's a trustee for the household, and they have documents, what are the Einas? What type of documents are Einas? The sale documents?
Bills of sale.
Bills of sale. And also documents of debts that go under his personal name. And he says, those are mine personally. I got them from my mother's father. Allah he's the one that has to bring the proof, even though the documents say his name. And this would fit with Rav. He passes like Rav. And the same thing would apply if to a woman that she has documents of sale or promissory notes that are on her own personal name, and they say that she says that they're mine personally. I got it from my grandfather, or from my other grandfather, not to do with my husband and not to do with the children. So then she's the one that has to bring the proof, which is what Rav says, that a trustee has to bring the proof that those are personal documents. My v'chein, why do we have to say v'chein? And also, it sounds like that the woman is a bigger chiddush than what we said before. And so too, this would apply in the following case.
Is an orphan considered a trustee?
It could be one of the orphans, could be the trustee for all of them. That's what we're talking about when the brothers. Here we're talking about that the woman is the trustee for the orphans. Apotropos, because apotropos was probably have a different halacha because apotropos is allowed to have his own businesses. He's a trustee, some wealthy guy that they found that says that, yeah, I'll take care of this. So if he has personal documents, of course he has personal documents. He doesn't live with them.
But you said one orphan can be the trustee?
One of the orphans is
that
the
wouldn't
trustee for all of them.
He's underage?
No, he's not underage.
Then why is
He's
he
just-
called an orphan?
Well, okay, he's not
Because he
technically, not technically an
But
orphan.
he's part of that group
Yeah.
of orphans.
Right. I'm sorry, Reb Naftali.
You said could be a woman. Do you mean the mother?
This is the mother.
This is
Yeah.
the mother, so she doesn't inherit, the sons inherit, but she becomes the apotropos for the sons.
Right.
Uh-huh.
Right.
Okay.
So my v'chein, the Gemara says, "Ma, the tema isha kiven the shvich leimel sadamri, katarcha kame yasmi legazlam yasmi." Actually, I'm not sure if it's the mother. I'm not sure. Over here, it looks like maybe it's not the mother. Here, we're saying that since she's so honored that the Beis Din trusted her to be the apotropos, to take care of these orphans. So she would never steal anything from the orphans because of that honor that she's getting, the pride that she has, that she's being trusted with this. Kamash Malana comes to tell us that that's not necessarily so. It could be that she's doing this this job, and really she is taking things. So we don't trust her. Oh, it's both. It's an honor. He's saying that it's an honor for yeah, it's an honor for a woman to manage her late husband's estate because it shows the court trusts her. More people praise her for the work. So we therefore be very reluctant to embezzle money from the estate and ruin her good name. Yeah,
That's Rashbam. Tosfos says the opposite.
Yeah.
Next, number 14.
Okay.
Says,
Let me leave it over here. Let's leave it over here and have a good Shabbos.
Thank you.
Okay.
Have a good Shabbos.
Have a good Shabbos.
you know what?